Yo, what's happening, people? Back again for another stream. Don't forget to smash the like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel at Gav Goes In. So, Manchester United versus Manchester City FA Cup final preview. So, Premier League season has drawn to a close now with Manchester City winning the title. No doubt they'll be in a buoyant mood ahead of the final, which comes up, I believe, this week. They are facing, obviously, Manchester United, who managed to get over the line against Brighton after a very poor performance. Two goals, one from Diogo Dalot and then the one at the end from Rasmus Højlund to seal the victory. United finished the season in 8th position, which is poor. And obviously no European football unless they defeat Manchester City in the FA Cup final coming up. So I'm going to run through the possible lineups. I'm going to give my score prediction, and then we're going to run through the Manchester United summer transfer window, the outgoings. Obviously, there's a few that's been confirmed, or one definitely has been confirmed. But yeah, we're going to run through that. So, possible lineups for the Man United game. I believe there's obviously a few players that have come back now. What I think the manager's going to do, I think the manager's going to go for, I believe, the 4-2-2 that he's been rumoured to be playing is going to be abandoned against Man City. So I believe he'll go back to the 4-2-3-1. And I believe he's going to go for, with the back four, and the goalkeeper will be Onana in goal. At right back, Diogo Dalot is going to play there. In actual fact, I think it depends really if Jeremy Doku is going to start. If Jeremy Doku starts, which I don't think he will, I think he could do actually. Well, if Jeremy Doku starts, he's going to play Aaron Wan-Bissaka at right back to deal with Doku, and that means Dalot will go over to left back. But if we're basing it on Doku not starting the game, I believe he'll play Diogo Dalot at right back, Aaron Wan-Bissaka at left back. And then he's got a problem with the central defence because for me, Varane has to start. I know he got a few minutes off the bench against Brighton. Obviously, it's his farewell game as well. So I believe Varane will get the nod to start. And then you've got Lisandro, who obviously is a bit rusty from his last performance. But I believe Lisandro might get the nod. I think Harry Maguire might be back. And then you've got Johnny Evans. I don't believe Casemiro plays at the back. I think they'll move Casemiro into midfield in his rightful position. But I think, I can see a back two of Varane and possibly Lisandro might play there. I think that'll be the back five. So I think it'll be Onana in goal. Dalot will play either right or left back, and the same with Wan-Bissaka, depending on who City start. And then I think we'll go for Varane and Lisandro for the final game of the season at the centre backs there. In midfield, I know there's been talk about Casemiro getting dropped. There's no way Casemiro gets dropped for me. So I think he'll play. So this is the team that I think Ten Hag will play, and then I'll do my team that I think he should play. So I think he'll play Casemiro with Kobbie Mainoo in the midfield, and then he'll play Bruno at 10. And then the strike force will be interesting. For me, Ahmad has to start. For me, Antony won't start, in my opinion, because Antony hasn't even played hasn't started the last couple of games. So I believe Ahmad will start definitely on the right. I think for me, Ahmad will start, but I can see something mad because I've got a sneaky feeling the manager's going to play Rashford, So I believe he's going to do a Garnacho, Rashford, Højlund front three. This is what I think the manager would do. So he'll play Garnacho from the right, Rashford from the left, Højlund up top. That's what I think he'll do. If it's my team and I'm picking the team, I'm picking Onana in goal. The back four, yeah, I think the back four you can't really complain. The only difference, only player I'll put in there as a difference would probably be someone like Jonny Evans. I think for Jonny Evans' experience, and he has played well. So I'd play, yeah, Dalot, Varane. Dalot, Varane, Lisandro, and Wan-Bissaka. And then in the midfield, I'd play Casemiro and Kobe. And in the third midfielder, I'd play Ahmad as a 10. I'd play Ahmad as a 10, in my opinion. I'd put a base behind Ahmad. So, or even if you wanted to give Kobe Manu a rest, I'll play a base of Casemiro and Amrabat and play Ahmad in the 10 and say, look, Ahmad, just go and get on the ball and make things happen. This is what I would personally do. Or if you're going to play Kobe and Ahmad, Kobe and Casemiro, you'd have Kobe playing deep to give protection to Casemiro, and then let Ahmad just get on the ball and start creating. Yeah, because I think if United sit back against Man City will eventually break them down because there's just too much quality in the team. So I'd play Ahmad as a 10. I'd play Anthony on the right. I'd play Rashford from the left. And then you know what I'd do? I'd probably play Scott McTominay as a number 9, just to unsettle and have obviously the other players on the bench. Or if I wanted to do a bit of a different formation, I'd play a midfield 3 of Amrabat, Casemiro, and Kobe Manu as 3 central midfielders and give Kobe the license to join the attack, and knowing that he's got two players behind him that can obviously support him and be the base for the midfield and stay in position to give Kobe that bit of a free license. And I'll play a front 3 of Anthony, Ahmad as a false 9, and then Marcus Rashford. That's the team that I personally pick, because I think obviously it's not the team he's going to pick, Ten Hag, it's obvious. But he's got 2 other options. The option of the Ahmad false 9, I think probably would be better to pack out the midfield with Kobe and Amrabat, because Amrabat's a ball winner. And obviously Cass has the experience and Kobe Manu has the youthful exuberance and the quality to kind of unlock doors. And I'll play Rashford from the left to exploit his pace. I mean, he'll be up against Carl Walker, so I think it'll be a bit of a contest. And then you've got Ahmad in the false 9 dropping off, linking the midfield to the attack. And then you've got Anthony, who I believe will have a point to prove as well. For me, the reason I'd play Ahmad, Anthony, Kobe all together as well is ball retention. Bruno, Garnacho, and Højlund for me are not ball retention players. And I think if the game is a bit at a stalemate or the tiring legs, and I think you'll be able to exploit Man City a bit better with those players. I know United are probably going to play in the counter-attack, but I think United need to have a team capable of keeping the ball. And if you want to use someone on the counter-attack, then you want to use someone like a Marcus Rashford for his pace. And then you have Højlund, Garnacho, and a Bruno in reserve, come off the bench. And maybe they might be better with fresher legs as well. As you can see with Højlund's last 2 goals, Højlund's got 2 goals come off the bench. And for me, that should be his role. Not starting, but come off the bench where he's got fresh legs and trying to have an impact. So so my team for me, I'm going to play Onana in goal. Wan-Bissaka right back, Dalot left back, Rafael Varane and Lisandro at the back. Or if Lisandro is still not match sharp, just bring Evans in. Or you got Campbell there, but I don't think Campbell will start, so no point mentioning him. And I'll play Amrabat, Casemiro as 2 defensive midfielders, Kobe as the 3 number 8, and then Anthony from the right, Ahmad as a false 9, and then Marcus Rashford I'll play from the left. That's the team that I'd pick. Let me know your views, guys. If you have a difference of opinion or if you have any players that you feel that I have not mentioned that should be in there. Man City's lineup. I think City will go with, well, obviously the goalkeeper is going to be Stefan Ortega. He's been very good for them. Carl Walker will be at right back. Gavardio will be at left back. And I believe, I think they might keep the same defense. I mean, I was going to say John Stones coming in, but John Stones obviously has a bit of an injury issue, or maybe they're just keeping him fresh. I don't know, but he hasn't been playing. Nathan Ake, I think, is back, so he might get the nod, but you'd probably expect to see Manuel Akanji and Ruben Diaz as the centre backs. And then in midfield, arguably for me, the best player in the league, Rodri. Man City's key player for me as well. He's obviously he'll play at the base of the midfield in DM, and then ahead of that, player of the season, and rightfully so, Phil Foden will play. I think Foden will probably play from the right again, to give Dalot or Wan-Bissaka a bit of a problem coming in field, and then I think they'll restore Bernardo Silva to the inside left, and then Kevin De Bruyne will play inside as well. And then on the left, for me, I'll start Jack Grealish all day long. But maybe because of the way the team is set up, he might go for a Doku, because I think if you look at the midfield, there's not someone that's got outstanding pace. So I think Doku offers that versatility in that. For me, I'll start Grealish, ball retention, and he's the better player. But Pep might start a Doku, and obviously Erling Haaland will start up front. My score predictions for the game, I think Man City will probably win the game. I'm going to go 3-1 Man City. 3-1. Yeah, I believe 3-1 Man City. Man United, for me, will only have a chance to win the game is if he picks, more or less, if he picks the lineup that I've gone through. If he decides to start Højlund, Garnacho, and Bruno, mark my words, and you've heard it here first, United could be 2-0 down inside the first half. Because as I said, against Man City, you have to have a threat on the counter, don't get me wrong. And that's why I've chosen Marcus Rashford, because I believe Rashford obviously performs in these kind of games. He's not been in good form, Rashford, but he performs in these kind of games in terms of his output. And I think the other two, in terms of Garnacho and Højlund, for me, I don't trust Højlund when he plays, and Garnacho for me is not good enough. And I trust Ahmad to play as a false nine to kind of link the midfield and attack together better. And then you can exploit Rashford's pace, and then obviously you can exploit Antony, his pace and his unpredictability as well. But if he picks the team with Garnacho, Højlund, and Bruno starting, I can see United being down 2-0 in the first half, as I mentioned. So, but yeah, I'm going to go for a 3-1 scoreline in total. You know, this game's all about, I know if Man United win the game, they can get European qualification through the Europa League. But for me, it's just about getting to the end of the season and seeing what Ineos have in plan with a new manager, and getting rid of some of these players and the incomings, which brings me nicely to the next section. So I'm going to run through the Man United squad of players that I believe need to be retained or need to be let go or listen to offers for in the summer, and see where they go. So if we start off with the goalkeepers, obviously 3 keepers, you've got Andre Onana, Altay Bayinde, and Tom Heaton. I think Tom Heaton's contract runs out, so obviously he'll be leaving on the free anyway. I believe Bayinde is going to be going as well. I think if I'm Bayinde, the fact that I think he's played one game this season, which was a cup game. I think if Bayinde wants to have a career in the game, then he needs to leave. And I believe he'll be trying to push for that. If he stays on for another season, I mean, to be fair, he showed a lack of ambition for me, and it depends what he sees in store for himself. But And under a new manager might think, they're going to try and compete Bayinde and Onana together. So you have to wait and see. But for me, Onana, I'll keep. I know Onana's been a bit dodgy this season, but for me, I would definitely keep him, give him another season. I believe if he's playing in a team which is conducive to keeping the ball and wants to be possession based, I believe you're seeing the best of Onana. The fact that a keeper has to face so many shots as he has done, and I believe that he's faced the most shots in the league, I think, other than, I believe, Sheffield United, if I'm right, shows you the problem with the team, the team setup. So, yeah, I think with Onana, I'll definitely keep him. And then Tom Heaton, yeah, he's leaving on a free. And then Altay Bayinde remains to be seen, really. Then we go to the defence. So, out of a squad of 36, obviously, including the three keepers, I've actually picked 9 players of real quality that I think should be retained. But some of them, obviously, one of them's confirmed that he's leaving already. And the other one looks set to be going as well, unfortunately. But for me, out of that whole squad of 36, there's only 9 players that I'm looking at that have real quality to keep, which is shocking in itself, more than less than half. So, for me, obviously, you've got Victor Lindelof. Lindelof, I'd move on. I think he's been at the club now for, I think, about 5 years, I want to say. Maybe a bit more. But I'd move him on, obviously Lindelof's not really on a higher wage. He could stay as cover, and obviously he might not have too many suitors. But I think someone like Lindelof needs to be moved on. For me, he's not good enough to be holding down a regular spot in the team. And if Man United want to be a team that wants to try and improve and move forward, I think players like Lindelof need to be moved on. If it's a cover situation that can come in every now and again, I see it. But it depends who United bring in, really. So, but for me, I'll sell Lindelof. Harry Maguire, for me, a definite move on. Cost north of 80 million. He's on 200 grand a week. He's going to be playing for England in the Euros, and that'll be a good shot window for him as well. Maguire, for me, obviously lacks pace. In terms of being aerial dominant, yeah, we know that already. But I think Man United need to move in a different direction. And for me, that doesn't include Harry Maguire. Lately, he has been playing well, but as I mentioned with Lindelof, not good enough to be holding down a regular spot for where Man United need to go. So he needs to be moved on. Lisandro, I'm a big fan of Lisandro. I think Lisandro's a very good player. On the ball, is very composed. Lisandro's problem is injuries. He's been picking up a lot of injuries. And I think certain players get criticised or labelled with the tag of injuries. And I think Lisandro has to be used in that kind of vein as well. For me, I'd keep Lisandro, providing he can stay fit. If Man United had a choice to get a left-footed centre-back, I mean, there's been talks of Branthwaite, but the fee will be quite high. But if Man United had a choice to get a left-sided central defender for cheap, or cheaper, should I say, than what Branthwaite's been quoted, then 100% bring them in. And obviously, when Lisandro does eventually get fit, he'll have competition on his hands to try and restake his place back. But for me, I'd keep Lisandro. Same with Tiro Malacia. Malacia's been absent for ages, injury prone as well. For me, I'll give Malacia another season. Whether it be you bring in another left back to make them the main left back, and then see how Malacia gets on. But just like Lisandro, really, I'll give him another season to prove his fitness and see where he can kind of fit himself into the team. A number one left back is high priority for me for Man United. As obviously you got Luke Shaw, who's been at the club for I think almost 10 years now, and he's on a lot of money and he's injury prone. So I think a new left back is essential. And then if Malacia is back up, or he can kind of provide competition and restake a claim as well, then that's what you want. So for me, I'll keep Malacia. Same as Lissandro, really. Rafael Varane. I mean, I'm not going to dwell touch on Varane because he's obviously made his decision ready to leave. How this guy was not retained is a joke. You know, even if there was there even talk about him reducing his wages? There didn't seem to be much talk about that. But for sure, I would definitely have kept Varane. But he's confirmed that he's leaving, and it won't surprise me if Varane stays in the Premiership and he goes to Chelsea. I think Chelsea need to go and get Varane. If Chelsea lose Thiago Silva and replace him with Rafael Varane, that would be a great bit of business. You know, they can probably put him on a slightly less wage than what he's on, but then they can kind of, lose Thiago Silva's experience and then look at Varane as someone who's only I think he's 31. He can give that experience, give that leadership quality as well. And, you know, he's got pace as well that will add to the back line. So for me, Varane's a massive miss, but he's someone that I definitely would have kept. But as we know, he's going to be moving on, so there's no point dwelling on that. But good luck to Varane, man. He's been a top player, and I believe any club he goes to, he will continue being that. Diogo Dalot, 100% keep for me. You know, there's been talk about Jeremy Frimpong coming in as a competition for him at right back, which I think needs to be done. I did touch on Thiago Santos at Lille, which I think would have been a good option as well. But for me, Dalot's been United's player of the season, and 100%. I think what would be a good show of faith as well for the management is to give him the number 2 shirt to show that he's going to be the starting right back. Or if Frimpong comes in, you've got a decision to make there as well. But yeah, for me, 100% Dalot keep and had a very good season. Luke Shaw. So for me, Luke Shaw, bearing in mind, a lot of these players I'm going to go through as well, they're not going to be easy sells. So it's all about generating interest, I believe. For me, Luke Shaw, 100% is to be moved on now. He's been injured more than anyone else in the whole squad. And I believe that he, I think me personally, I think he's run his course in terms of the injuries, and he needs to be moved on. How you move someone like him on is going to be hard because I think he's got 3 years left on his deal. But I think just sign a new left back, and even if you don't sign a left-footed centre back, you can kind of move Luke Shaw as cover for left side centre back. But selling him is going to be hard. So yeah, it's going to be a difficult one. But he's someone that I think should be moved on because I think he has had good games, but for me, too much of too many injuries for my liking, and I don't think his level of performance is as high for someone who's had those amount of injuries, and that's on that wage. And I think there is probably better that you can get out there for cheaper that will put in this probably the same kind of output, and obviously he's probably younger as well. So for me, I'd move Luke Shaw on. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, for me, 100%, I'd move on as well. Wan-Bissaka as an actual defender, in terms of 1v1 defending, we all know that he's very good at that. His positional sense ain't the greatest. On the ball, ain't great either. And that's purely why I'd move him on, because I need my fullbacks to be very comfortable on the ball and offer an outlet. And I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka, for me, isn't good enough in that sense. So for me, I'd move him on 100%. And then looking at getting, as I said, another right back to kind of go with Dalot. So that's for me. Yeah, that's Wan-Bissaka gone. The likes of Brandon Williams and Alvaro Fernandez. I won't dwell on them too much. Brandon Williams has never been good enough, so he's on loan as well. So I think his contract's running out. So yeah, that'd be an easy player to move on. Alvaro Fernandez, I think, had potential, but he's got a deal in place, I believe, with Benfica, which I think they can activate in the summer transfer window. Good player, but for me, I think if Man United want to kind of go to the next level, they need to be looking at one of the up-and-coming left-backs in the game. I like Ryan Aït-Nouri from Wolves. I think he's a very good player. I like Grimaldo from Bayer Leverkusen, who could be attainable, but might be difficult to get. I like the Anthony Robinson as well from Fulham. I think he's a good player. But yeah, I think there's players out there that can be got. There's a guy playing for Fenerbahce as well, which I believe is Kadioglu. I think he looks quite good. But obviously got Malacia there as well. But yes, I think Fernandez probably right for him to move on. And then Johnny Evans, his contract is running out. Been a great servant to the club. When he's come in, he's done very well. Obviously, he's only there for a season, so he's going to be moving on. And then we've got Willy Campbell, who I'd keep as potential. And obviously, he's not going to be a starter, but he can come in and do a job behind the new defence that United need to kind of go and get. Or if he does show a lot of promise in pre-season, who knows? He could kind of push for a first-team place, but I'll definitely keep him. So out of the goalkeepers and defence, I'd keep out of them. We've got 5 players from goalkeeper to defence, which is Onana, Lisandro, Malacia, Dalot, and Willy Campbell. And obviously, Varane is a no-brainer you keep, but he's already agreed to go. And obviously, Johnny Evans' contract is running down. So, moving into midfield. So, Sofian Amrabat. For me, obviously, he's going to be going back anyway, but I wouldn't keep Amrabat. I think Amrabat has had a couple of good games against Arsenal and Newcastle. Wasn't so good against Brighton. But for me, I'd move him on anyway. I believe there is other options in that position to kind of get. So yeah, don't believe Amrabat was given a fair chance, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of games that he could have been useful in, which wasn't done. And the manager obviously played him at left back as well, which is ludicrous. But yeah, I think Amrabat, for me, I wouldn't keep, and looks like he's getting back anyway. Mason Mount. Mason Mount was bought for what, 55 mil when his contract was running out, given a number 7 shirt, which is a criminal sin. For me, Mason Mount, we know he's going to be here next season because just because of the fee and the wage that he's on. I think he's on 250 a week, which again is a criminal sin. I'd move him on 100%, but the likelihood of that happening ain't going to happen. So he's going to be here, but for me, he's not a starter, and immediately that number 7 shirt needs to be taken off his back in the summer. You know, how the club come to a decision to give him number 7 shows you where the club is at and shows you what a disgrace of a decision that was. Whoever sanctioned that needs to be sacked on the spot if they've been sacked already. But Mount's going to be there, but for me, not good enough, and he'll be part of the squad. And yeah, one of the players that Carabao Cups, FA Cups, yeah, if he gets a run out there, then it's not a problem. But for me, he's not a starter in a team that wants to do anything serious. Bruno Fernandes, for me, mentioned it before. One of the main reasons that the club plays the style of football it plays, especially from front to back. From back to front. And for me, has to be moved on. You know, there's been talk about Ineos, not too sure about him, and I'm hoping that's true, because the quicker Ineos move on and these fans move on from Bruno Fernandes, the better the team will function with a cohesive unit. You know, and I think Bruno's at a stage now where he's going to be looking for a new contract. So I believe he's got 2 years left, but he's going to be looking to get his last big contract at Man United. And Ineos are not going to be offering him that, in my opinion, because for one, he don't warrant it. And for two, I think the club want to go in a different direction. And I believe that Bruno doesn't figure in them plans. And I'm hoping that's the case anyway. So for 100%, I'd move Bruno Fernandes on. Christian Eriksen, I think, will be available in a free transfer. I'd move Eriksen on as well. You know, been a good servant. Hasn't played in the position that I believe he should be playing in, which is a number 10 position. But I do believe when Eriksen has played, there should have been a bit more of protection around him to get the best out of his creative skills. But I think in the summer, yeah, I think Eriksen will be gone for sure. And I think, yeah, he has been a bit hard done by, in my opinion. I think he could have offered a lot more. I think the injury killed him, and obviously the issue he had at the Euros or the World Cup with his heart is probably played a bit of a part on it as well. But yeah, I think Eriksen's a good player, but I think it's time he's moved on. And Man United look for someone that's a bit younger, that has a bit more dynamism about their game, and that can link midfield to attack. Guys, don't forget to smash the like button as well. Appreciate that. And subscribe to my channel at Gav Goes In. Amad Diallo. For me, Amad's the future, especially in an attacking sense. You know, Amad showed in the last few games what he has to offer. You know, sweet left foot. You know, technical ability is of a high level. And players like this is players that I kind of relate to. You know, I think too much of football now has gone away from that. It's become an athlete's game. And I think the technical players are getting shunted because of numbers. But people have to remember the game is called football. And footballers will always excel at the end, you know. And footballers have longevity in the game other than players that are just athletes, you know. I've had, for 30 plus years of experience in the game, of me playing and watching, for me, I've never seen football in this state before, where the actual technicians are getting overclouded by players that are just athletes, you know. And it's, to be fair, it's killing me watching it. But someone like Amad is the opposite of what we're watching now, and players like him need to be protected and looked at as the future. And I think a show of sign for Amad will be, you know, to start him in the FA Cup final, to show him that the club are finally, I mean, I know it's going to be down to Ten Hag, who I want to go anyway, but I think it'll be a start of Amad's career at United and him showing everyone what he's got to offer, you know. And hopefully, yeah, that starts in the final against Man City and then carries on to next season. Casemiro, for me, experience, you know, I know he's been getting criticism this season, which has been unjust. I think a lot is expected of Casemiro, which is why I think he gets the criticism. But for me, Casemiro, he's one of the very few leaders in this Man United team, and the other one's actually leaving on a free. So I don't think it's a good idea to get rid of both of them, in my opinion. And Casemiro, I believe, playing him in that midfield, and he's got protection around him, where he's got a ball player next to him as well, will only excel his game. The structure of the team, if it's set up right, you're going to find that Casemiro won't be getting exposed, you know, playing him at centre-back, which is not his position. And I believe giving Casemiro that captain's armband as well, which is going to be key if he does stay. Obviously, he's on a high wage, so we have to wait and see what Ineos have planned. But for sure, Casemiro has to stay for me, purely for his experience and his winning mentality, you know. And I think next season, if he does stay and the structure of the team's right, you're going to see a better Casemiro. And I think you're going to see a Casemiro as well that is going to be driven and focused, because I can see already he's tapped out. He's checked out of the team. He's not happy. But yeah, hopefully he stays. We'll have to wait and see. Pellistri and Donny van der Beek, I won't dwell too much on them. For me, I think Pellistri's gone. Ward moved Pellistri on. I think Pellistri plays from the right-hand side, and the links to Elise, and if Amad comes, and obviously Amad's there already. For me, they're both better than Pellistri. I think Pellistri could have played more games when he was there, but I think the likes of Amad coming through now and the links with Elise, and hopefully Elise does join, means that Pellistri will be surplus to requirements. And obviously Antony's still there as well, which is a big money signing. So yeah, I think in terms of Pellistri's career, I think, yeah, could have got more game time, but unfortunately he's not to be. So I think I'd move him on. And the same with Donny. I think Donny's been criminally underused. The sign itself, for me, I wouldn't have made, purely because of how the team was playing. But Donny hasn't been given his fair chances, and it's a shame that Donny's kind of fallen off now. This was a guy that was, you know, linked by Real Madrid, and now unfortunately, Donny's probably a mid-table player now, mid-table team player, if that, and that's not even probably saying the Premiership. So it's a bit of a shame what's happened to Donny's career, but I think if Man United want to go in a different direction and they want to improve that midfield option, I think Donny, like, you know, I mean, for the squad, he would be a good option, but I think the stage that he's at now, he needs to be in a team where he's playing week in, week out. And I believe if Man United want to go to the level they want to go to, I don't believe Donny figures in that. So I'd move him on, yeah. Kobbie Mainoo, the future of that Man United midfield. Still think Kobbie's got a lot to work on, you know, but it's been a breakthrough season for Kobbie. And I think that he, you know, he's been overplayed, in my opinion. But it shows you, and it's nothing on Kobbie, but it shows you the state Man United are in, that they're relying on an 18/19-year-old to run their midfield at times. But you can see Kobbie's quality in possession, you know, and he's going to go from strength to strength. Hopefully he's on the plane to the Euros. I wouldn't mind if he's not, to give him a rest, but not much to say about Kobbie. He's going to be here next season. He's going to be the future of the midfield, providing that the club provide him a platform to succeed. And one of very few players from this season's success, along with Dalot, that we can kind of think, you know, they've played their part. So look forward to seeing Mainoo next season. Scott McTominay, for me, 100% move on. I think you can get like at least 20 to 30 mil for McTominay now. Been at the club for, I believe he's been in the first team for about 6+ years, I'd say. For me, hasn't been good enough. Never was good enough. You know, I think McTominay has his uses in terms of his aerial ability. Never stops running. But Man United need to be serious now and move on players like this and get real quality into that team. Quality is what I want to see over anything. Man United's turned into a team where the quality players are not playing. And, you know, this can't be going on for no longer. I just want to see quality in that team, because quality will prevail in the end. You know, if you've got a team where the majority of the players are comfortable on the ball and they've got real technical quality, the team invariably will improve, you know. And I want to see someone like McTominay moved on, as he's not good enough. Dan Gore and Hannibal Mabry, for me, two players that are on loan. I think, if anything, one of them players will probably be a squad player. Don't see any one of them forcing their way as a first-team starter. When Hannibal first come to the club, I was a bit excited because I thought he had something about him. But I don't think Hannibal's good enough to be nailing down a regular spot. Just like Dan Gore, I think Dan Gore's more of a defensive player than Hannibal. But I don't see these two players like a Kobbie Mainoo that's going to be a starter for the foreseeable. So, I mean, if they're squad players, fair enough, but not starters for me. So those two, I think, question marks, or you just move on. And the same for Omari Forson. Forson's contract's running out. Forson, for me, is not good enough. He's got pace, and he's left-footed as well, which, you know, I like left-footers. But if you compare his quality to someone like an Ahmad, it's chalk and cheese. So, yeah, just move it. I'd move him on. So, midfielders, out of all those players in midfield, you've got 3 players that I'd keep from that midfield, which is Ahmad, Kobbie Mainoo, and Casemiro. 3 players that I'd keep. Mason Mount's one's a different one because he just signed and he ain't going nowhere, which is a bit unfortunate. But 3 players definite keeps for me: Ahmad, Kobbie Mainoo, and Casemiro. And then we're going to move on to the forward line. And we're going to start with Anthony Martial. So you guys have obviously heard me mention Martial plenty of times on my channel. Top player. Unfortunately, looks like he could be leaving, even though there's not been a definite. But I think when you're clapping fans the way he did, it looks like the writing's on the wall there. Why this guy is not being retained? I know he's obviously had injuries, But as I mentioned to you before, the striker market isn't there. And on his day, Martial, his quality is there for all to see. It's just about Martial getting over his injury problems. If he gets over his injury problems and he's playing in a team that wants to play the right way, you're going to see what Martial's all about, because, you know, his quality is permanent. And that's what people need to realise. So for me, I'll definitely keep, but it looks like, just like Varane, he possibly could be moving on. So I have to wait and see with that one. Marcus Rashford, new contract. Same boat as Mason Mount, really. Just signed a new, fresh contract. And obviously, seen as the face of the club, and he's going to be very hard to move on. For me, I believe Rashford needs a new chapter in his career in terms of going to a different club, starting afresh. It remains to be seen what clubs will come in for him, and if they can somewhere pay the wages of what he currently is on. You know, for me, do I want Rashford to stay? For me, the only way Rashford stays for me is if he can accept being second choice, which ain't going to happen really, because he's been given the insurances, obviously, by the club that he's the face of the club. Obviously, I'd bring back Jadon Sancho 100% and play him from the left. It's a no-brainer, which means that Rashford and him would be competing. If that's to be the case, then I'm all in for that. But yeah, it's going to be a hard one with Rashford to get rid of. But it'd be a statement of intent to show for Man United if they was to get rid of him and Bruno, because I believe, I've been saying this for years, him and Bruno are arguably two of the biggest problems at the club, in terms from a style sense of how the team plays, because they're looked at as, for some reason, the go-to guys, and that's only because of numbers. But football should never be about that. So for me, I'd move Rashford on, but if he can play if he's going to play as a second fiddle or competition to Sancho, and he wants to stay for that, then fair enough. But other than that, he has to move on. Rasmus Højlund. And this is the thing about Rasmus Højlund, you know, football now has become, and this is a shame in football. Football has become, it's just about, people don't really care about how the team's getting on. It's just a case of them trying to prove that their player is doing something more than someone else's player. You know what I mean? And for me, Rasmus Højlund, I don't care that he's scored in his last two games. For me, I look at the quality and what he offers, and I'll keep it consistent. He ain't good enough. You know, he doesn't possess any of the top level skills. Doesn't matter about his age. You know, he doesn't possess any of the top level skills as a striker to be relied upon. You know, if Man United want to make him a bench option and he comes off, and as he has been doing for last couple of games, getting a couple of goals from tired legs, then fair enough. But as a starting striker, there's no way he should be starting next season. So I'm not going to dwell on him too long. Would I move him on? I would, if there's a buyer, or if you can loan him and get, as I say, an Ivan Toney in, or get another striker in, or retain Martial. I'd move Højlund on for definite. Whether that happens remains to be seen. But for me, I'd move him on, because I just don't think he's good enough at the top level. And for where Man United need to go to, and where I think Ineos want to go to, for me, Højlund doesn't figure in that, unless he's going to be a bench option, of course. And the same with Garnacho. Not going to dwell on these guys for too long. Garnacho, for me, not good enough. And Man United need to address that left-hand side in the summer. My number one target is Eberechi Eze. I've been saying it for ages. Eze needs to be brought along with Michael Olise, and Eze needs to be playing in that 10 or from the left. I think the best thing that Oliver Glasner from Crystal Palace has done this season is play Eze from the left, because Eze has now shown that he's got another string to his bow, and that will help for England as well. So Eze can play from the left and play from the 10. And I think signing someone like Eze will, I think that will show a statement of intent. And you've got a player there that can play in two positions. So I think he's a must get now as well. But yeah, as I said, Garnacho for me is nowhere near the level of a regular starter. And I'm just waiting to see what happens in the summer in terms of the playing squad and who's been brought in and who plays where. So for me, I wouldn't retain Garnacho. The likelihood of him going is not really going to happen. But if he's going to be just like Højlund, the bench option, then fair enough when tired legs are there. But for sure, those two in particular cannot be starting. And then we move on to Antony. I think Antony, for me, I think Antony's got something to offer under the right manager. But I believe if Man United sign Michael Olise and you've got Ahmad there as well, Antony is going to find it hard to get in the team, in my opinion. How Man United move him on, I don't know, because of the wage and because of how much he got bought for. But for sure, if Olise comes in and you got Ahmad and then you got a Sancho coming back, and Sancho can play both flanks as well, I think Antony will find it tough to get a regular spot. So I'll only keep Antony as a squad option, but someone that's been bought for that amount of money, how are you gonna provide value for a squad option, which is going to be difficult. So yeah, that's another one that's going to be interesting to see in the summer. Jadon Sancho, 100% for me, bringing back in the summer. I think Sancho's going to have a lot to prove. I know there's people saying that he owes the club, or he owes the manager, who won't be there, by the way, an apology. Forget all that rubbish. This is high level football. You know, you're not in school. You know, and at the end of the day, the manager come out and he decided to say something about Sancho when it was uncalled for in a loss that he had nothing to do with. He could have just said, you know, it's a private matter, but he decided to put Sancho's name in it. And as any man, as any person that wants to back their corner, is going to come out and defend themselves regardless. I have no issue with it. If there's fans that have issue with it, then whatever, that's up to them. But for me, Sancho's done nothing wrong, and he's going to be playing the Champions League final against Real Madrid. Another chance to showcase his ability. And I just hope that Sancho wants to come back first and foremost, and the club show him that he's going to be a key part of the new project. And he gets that slot. And I think what will show Sancho as well that he's regarded highly is by giving him that number 7 from Mason Mount's back. Because that's a disgrace, really, let's be honest. So yeah, 100% keep Jadon Sancho. And you got Shola Shoretire. For me, a lot of hype about Shoretire. The fact that Shoretire hasn't been featuring for the United squad with all them injuries shows he isn't the level. And yeah, I think you probably move Shoretire on for new options. And you got Mason Greenwood. For me, I'd bring Greenwood back 100%. But it just depends to see what Greenwood wants to do and what the club want to do, really. You know, I think someone of Greenwood's quality, and I'm talking purely about the football now, not about anything else. Someone of his quality needs to be retained, and it needs to be, it needs to be looked at as, can we really risk some of this quality when the quality of the squad itself isn't good enough? You know, obviously all the other issues that has been going on, that's a different matter. So I'm not really going to comment on that. But yeah, for me, I'd like to bring him back, but we have to wait and see. You know. So out of all those players from midfield to defense and to the strikers, you've got, for me, so I've got 6 definite start keepers, and obviously some of them might have been agreed to go. So I'm just saying the players that I would keep from midfield to the strikers, and that's Ahmad, Casemiro, Kobbie Mainoo, Anthony Martial, Jadon Sancho, Mason Greenwood, and then you've got a question mark over Rashford, and then we've got Højlund and Garnacho who are bench options, but I personally wouldn't keep them, but they're probably going to stay, but they need to be bench options. So from out of a squad of 36 players, I believe, yeah. So I'll go through it again. So you got Onana, Lissandro, Malacia, Varane, Dalot. Yep. Ahmad, Casemiro, Kobe Manu, Anthony Martial, Jadon Sancho, Mason Greenwood. So about 12 players I would keep from a squad of 36. So as you can see, Man United have a lot to do in the summer. As I said, if you guys have a difference of opinion, you know, there's other players you think that should go or should be kept, smash that in the comments or in the chat. But that's where I see Man United as what they need to improve on. So I'm looking forward to the summer because I believe Ineos, what will show me a lot is what Ineos do with the manager, first and foremost, you know, and you've got one more game, FA Cup final to see. As I said before, I believe the manager's gone. I believe that was sorted out a while ago. And I believe it just depends to see what's going to happen in the summer on the new manager and the incomings and the outgoings. So yeah, that's my list there. So you got about 9 players. I say if you guys got any other players you want to chuck in, feel free. But I'm going to be back tomorrow. I'm going to be back at 12 o'clock tomorrow, and I'm going to do my England 26-man squad on who I think Gareth Southgate's going to include and who I think should be going on the plane at 12 o'clock tomorrow. So be sure to follow me for that. So yeah, guys, don't forget to smash the like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel at Gav Goes In. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow at 12. Take it easy.